CATT-NW Season 1, Episode 10, Troubleshooting Desmos for Blind and Low Vision Accessibility.
CATT, Center for Assistive Technology Training Northwest.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to CATT-NW. This week we have Michael Cantino, who is the BVIS Technology Specialist from the Northwest Regional Education Service District in Oregon.
It's a
Michael,
mouthful.
it's a little bit of a mouthful. Michael, I'm going to let you tell us what the BVIS acronym is. That is BVIS. And Michael is also here to share tips for troubleshooting Desmos for blind and low vision accessibility. So off to you, Michael, and thanks for coming.
Thanks, Tink. Yeah, BVIS is the Blind and Visually Impaired Student Fund. It was a fund of money that was created when our School for the Blind closed here in Oregon in 2009. So it sustained some kind of statewide activities and positions. And so I am the tech specialist for the state through the BVIS Fund. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And we can get started. I like to do rapid fire sessions, and today I don't think is any different. So strap in. Let's see. I'm going to drop a link in the chat to the document we're going to be working through today. That's our troubleshooting document. So my task was to find all the ways I could break Desmos and then find out how to fix them. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We are also going to take a quick look at a chatbot I created on my website, which is linked in our document for today with a bit.ly link. It's just bit.ly/BVIS-tech, all lowercase. That'll bring you to my website, and I have a lot of chatbots on this page. I'll refresh this so you can get a better idea of what the page looks like. And lots of other resources, but we're going to be looking at the Desmos chatbot today. I'm going to bring it over and show you here what that looks like. So this is just a custom GPT. You can access this with a free ChatGPT account. You don't need to have a paid account, but you do need to have an account to be able to use it. And I built this basically to help me remember keyboard commands that I forget, because there's lots of keyboard commands that you can use in Desmos. So I gave it lots of Desmos training data, and then we can ask it things like, how do I move to the expressions? Which I'm typing it now, and we'll get a response back pretty quickly. Control-Alt-E, that's the correct command. You can also do some kind of light troubleshooting in here. Like, I think one problem I had that we'll see was, why am I not seeing Braille on my Braille display? And I think it can answer simple questions like that. We'll see how it goes. Yeah, the answer is you need to turn Braille mode on. Great. So it does good at that stuff. And you can also ask it to like create sample lesson plans for you to help introduce new concepts to your screen reader student. So that's with this chatbot. That's how it works. You can find it in the document that we're working through today. And you can also find it on my website. All right. With that set aside, that is your kind of troubleshooter that you can always return to. But with that out of the way, I want to look at Desmos, and I'm going to take a quick detour first before we look at the graphing calculator. And I like to look at the scientific calculator. I get a lot of questions about what's a good large print calculator for students, and I really like the Desmos scientific calculators or the 4-function calculators. So if you go into the little wrench icon, the settings icon for the graph, you can increase the font size. You can do reverse contrast, which I always like. But the nice thing is if you use Control+ and you enlarge this page a few times, it takes up the whole screen. So now it's really, really big. Plenty big for you to see what's going on here. And you can use magnification tools if you like, but this is large enough for a lot of students. So I think this is really cool. Wanted to take some time to call that out before we look at the graphing calculator. One other thing we should stop and think about, this is also linked in the document that we're working through today, is the Desmos keyboard shortcuts webpage. So it's just desmos.com/graphing shortcuts. Along the top of the page, there's headings for all their different calculators. And if you work through these tables here, you'll find all the keyboard shortcuts you could ever need for Desmos, or at least the Desmos specific ones. So these are super helpful to kind of have at your fingertips. If you're getting lost or confused in Desmos, having these keyboard commands available is really helpful. Okay, so now I think we can get on with the troubleshooting. All right, I'm going to start with something kind of similar here. I'm back in the graphing calculator. I've already got a bunch of expressions in here. And first, let's talk about enlarging the print size. So we can enlarge the print size from the graph settings menu. I'm going to go over the keystrokes for this in just a moment. I'm going to click on it for now. And if I click on the larger A, I can increase the font size. So that's good. It's a little bit bigger, but if your student wants something even larger than that, you can use Control plus to zoom in your browser, and that will get the font even bigger. Once you hit around 200, things get really busy. And I think beyond that, it gets kind of funky. So keep that in mind. But you can always kind of enlarge with that Control plus, can give you a bit more leeway. All right. While you're working in Desmos, you're going to be jumping, well, especially when you're getting it set up, you're going to be jumping a lot between graph settings and your expression list. Um, Knowing the command at least for the expression list, I think is an essential. So the command for the expression list is Control-Alt-E. The command for the graph settings is Control-Alt-G. I'll do a quick demo of those for you.
Full speech.
I turn my JAWS speech on. I'm in the expression list now, so I'm going to jump to the graph settings, Control-Alt-G. Oops.
Escape. Open graph.
There we go. Is this working now?
Alt Control G.
There we
20 vertical
go.
bar
There.
Desmos. Desmos
All
graphing
right.
calculator.
Appreciate it. I'm having hip surgery coming up.
Okay, there's chat. I don't need to worry about that. Okay, so Control-Alt-G took me to the settings list. Control-Alt-E.
Alt Control E. Expression list region.
Take me back to the expression list. Nice and easy. Not too much to worry about there. Okay. The next thing I have on my list
Expression 2:3
is
quote.
Being able to work with a sighted partner is really nice. The Desmos has this really great Braille mode, so you can write in Braille, you can have it sent to your Braille display, but if you're working with a sighted partner, being able to show them the print is really handy. So this is another command that I think is kind of an essential one for our Braille students, and that is Alt-N. That will switch between your Braille mode and your print mode. I think Desmos actually, I'm going to dismiss this settings window. Desmos actually has a separate command to go back to print, but you don't need to know it. You can just toggle the Braille mode on and off. So Alt-N for Nemeth is how I remember it.
Alt
Alt-N.
N. EQ quote 1 edit.
Okay. And now all my expressions are written in Braille. I can write in Braille here if I want to. And if I want to share it with a partner, I can just press Alt-N again.
Alt N. Expression.
And now I'm back to print. So your teacher or your peer can look over your shoulder and see what you're working on. So that's really helpful. This is also really helpful for fixing a couple bugs. So if you are working in Desmos and JAWS is reading these expressions out to you,
Expression 2:3 quote X quote has graph.
but you're not getting any Braille on your Braille display, that's because you need to have Braille mode on. So Alt-N again.
Alt N. EQ quote 2 edit.
And now I'll get the correct Braille sent to my Braille display. So that's really helpful. The other thing that's a little odd is, we'll see if I can get JAWS to do this here. Now I know if I go all the way down to
Type in EQ quote 4 edit. Y.K-X tilde 3. Type in text.
Okay, Y dot K tilde 3, X tilde 3. So when you are in Braille mode, you will get some weird speech output. So this is kind of an odd trade-off. If you're in print mode, you get nice speech, but no Braille. If you're in Braille mode, you get weird speech, but you get the correct Braille. So if you really are kind of tuning into that speech output, again, knowing that Alt-N command so you can go back to the print mode is going to be really helpful. So Alt-N.
Alt-N. Expression 4 quote Y quote equals negative quote X quote cubed edit.
Okay, so that is much better, aside from all the quotes, but that might be my verbosity. Okay.
Amy Jacob says.
Well, we're 3 bugs through. What else we got?
Amy Jacob says.
All right. Another thing, I
ID
have
pits.
my Braille viewer in another window, but
ID pits.
another thing we'll see is um,
Expression.
sometimes if you are reading through your expressions or in
ID
Braille
pits has left
mode,
the
so you're
waiting room.
getting Braille sent to your display, but you might
ID
notice
pits has joined the
that
meeting.
I'm
Tech in.
getting alerts from the meeting. Here we go. Alt
Chrome button menu.
N.
Escape. Alt N. EQ quote
There
2
we
edit.
go. You might be seeing the right Braille on your screen and hearing it read out
Karen Lee has
correctly, but then getting,
space S. Tech in
trying to turn the speech off.
space. Speech on demand.
There we go. Okay. You might see the correct Nemeth translation on the screen, but be getting a UEB translation on your display. And if that's happening, it's because you need to adjust your JAWS settings so that you're using computer Braille. So I'm going to bring my JAWS window over and I'll quickly show you what that looks like. The Settings Center is under Utilities. So I'm going to go Utilities, Settings Center, and then we want to go to the Braille menu here. We can search for Braille up at the top, but I just know it's in the tree view under General. And you want to go in here and change your output to computer Braille and your input as well. That will fix this issue so that the Nemeth you see on screen is also what's being sent to your Braille display. So you won't have Nemeth on screen and UEB on your display. Okay. So having those correct JAWS settings is helpful. Where are we locked? Here we go. It's mad that I changed things and don't want to save it. No. Okay. Yeah, I heard all Windows key S. Thank you, Deborah. We tried that and my computer went haywire. So I'm just working with it for now. But thank you for the suggestion. All right. Another thing to keep an eye out for here is 6-key input. So 6-key input is really cool when you have it turned on. I'll go ahead and turn it on now. Alt 6 should do it. There we go. You can write in Braille on your keyboard. Um, with those 6 keys simulating your Braille entry. So that's really handy if you don't have a Braille display available. But if you are using a Braille display, you actually want to make sure you have 6-key turned off because that will introduce errors. So in particular, I've noticed when you're writing like an equal symbol, it likes to do that .13, the second part of the equal sign ends up coming out as a .5 for some reason. So if you don't have a Braille display, but you want to write in Braille on your keyboard, 6-key entries for you. If you do have a Braille display and you're writing from your Braille display, you need to make sure 6-key entry is off. The command for that is Alt 6, or you can access it in the graph settings. So again, graph settings is Control Alt S, oops, excuse me, Control Alt G to get to the graph settings, and you can turn on 6-key Braille input there. All right, working our way through. I think I'm making okay time. You can easily add tables. Normally, if you want to add a table in Desmos, you need to go all the way up to the plus sign at the top of the screen. And that's tough if you're several expressions down the list. So instead of doing that, there's a keyboard command, which is Control Alt T. We'll just add a new table for you that you can begin populating. That's really handy. Another thing you might see students doing is in a class is they might be asked to create a table from an expression. This is also, Sarah saying you can also just write table. Good to know. From the expression, you can generate a table from this expression. The way a mouse user would do this is go into this gear icon, and that will make the setting available. But you can also use control, what is it? Control Alt D will activate that gear icon, and then we can tab over to find the table button. Okay, sorry, I have JAWS muted right now, so you're not hearing any of that. All right, so that will create a table from this expression I already have, so you don't have to go through and write down all the points that are already plotted on the screen for you. That's nice. I want to take a look at audio trace. I'll turn JAWS on for this maybe.
Full speech.
Okay. Audio trace is really great to hear your graph sonified. The command to turn audio trace on is Alt T.
Alt T. Graph paper.
And then you can hit H to listen to that graph be sonified.
H. Tech in 20 vertical bar des.
Okay. But the problem I have is That's really fast. I have a hard time following what's happening there. I'll press H again so we can listen to it one more time.
H. Tech in 20 vertical bar Desmos.
That's a lot. I have no idea kind of what points I hit or even really kind of the shape of it because it went too fast for me. You can press Alt and numbers on your keyboard to adjust the speed. So Alt 1 is going to be the slowest, all the way up to 0 is going to be the fastest. So I'll press Alt 1 now,
Alt 1.
and we'll listen to this again.
H. Tech in 20 vertical bar. Space.
All right. And that might be too slow for you. You can choose Alt 2, Alt 3 to make it a little bit faster, but it gives you much more control, especially for students who are new to that sonification piece. Slowing that down is going to be a big help. Okay.
Tech.
For low vision students, or if you're preparing stuff to emboss,
Space. S. Space. Speech on demand.
there you go. You might want to play with your line styles. So you can make your lines thicker, you can make them dashed, you can make them dotted. This is another one that you can, sighted folks would probably click on the gear icon and then you can click on the settings for your line styles. But the faster way to do it is to use Control Shift O. We'll bring you right into your line styles.
Full speech.
Speech on. We can hear a little bit of what this sounds like.
Line. Opacity under line 3 edit.
I can choose the opacity.
Lines visible checkbox checked.
I can turn the lines off and on.
Line. Thickness left paren PX.
I can change the thickness.
Style group. Solid radio button checked. Dashed radio button. Dotted radio button checked.
So
Julie
solid,
Jones
dashed, and dotted, and then you can also adjust the
Julie Jones
colors
has joined the
down
meeting.
below.
Space. Speech on demand.
Go. You can adjust the colors down below. I've had some issues with colors embossing kind of lightly in the past, but I've been pretty happy with my experiments lately. I might say if you're going to emboss, maybe stay away from this orange. This orange looks pretty light to me. If you're using a View Plus embosser, the darker the colors are, the heavier it's going to emboss. So it's something to keep in mind. All right. I think maybe we'll make it. We're getting kind of close. If you are wanting to emboss your graph, you're going to do that from the Share menu. The command for that is Control-Alt-S. And then we will tab down to Export Image. Oops. Where did we go here? I need to turn JAWS. It's like
Full speech.
Okay, Control
Alt Control S. Alt Control S. Options menu. Share your saved graph. Export image button.
Okay, now tab's working. We want to export the image.
Enter.
And under file
Jones
format, I'll choose Braille Nemeth. For size, I'll choose VP Max 11.5 by 11.
Size button collapsed.
I like a full
Space.
Braille page.
Link VP Max left paren. Link ET center Romeo. Link VP Max left paren 11.5. Enter.
There we go. And then you can tab down and you want to download the PNG for this file. There is a trick though to actually embossing these.
Space. Space. Speech on demand.
The trick for embossing these, it says here in the window, right click on the image and select print. So if you just preview the image, it shows up as this really tiny preview. But if you want to actually emboss it, you need to right click on the file and select print. I'll just quickly show you what that looks like. And then this might be our last one because I think I'm maxing out time here. Okay, so I have a Desmos graph here.
Full speech.
And if I press Shift F10 to right
Shift
click
F10.
on this,
Context menu.
there
Cut
we
Control
go.
plus F.
Print doesn't show up in my options. We want to go to Show More Options.
Copy. Rename.
All
Rotate
the way
right.
down at the
Proper.
bottom.
Edit. Photo. Show more options. Enter. Leaving menus. Context menu.
And in this menu, you'll
Edit.
get a print menu.
Print. Leaving menus. Downloads. Print.
You'll get a little print dialog, and it looks like it's going to print sideways, but this actually will
Julie
print
Jones.
correctly. I like to uncheck this fit picture to frame just to make sure it doesn't enlarge my Braille dots, but it doesn't seem to actually affect the preview. But anyhow, going through this route will actually emboss it correctly at the right size, so you don't have to do any extra steps. All right. And we're at 8:50. I'll quickly name off the last couple of
Speech
few
on
that we
demand.
didn't get to. If you need to use sliders, the trick for that is you need to tab through the sliders. So you need to go, I'll tab into a slider expression, and the slider goes away. So you need to tab through all the options until one past the step. Now you're at the slider, and you can use the left and right arrows to adjust the slider. You can only rename files if you have an account open or logged in. And then to get up there, you need to exit the expression list. You can hit escape, and then you can use Control Home to get up there. And then if you want to adjust your typing echo, if you don't want to hear JAWS read back everything you're saying, this is a tip from Leslie in her session, you can use JAWS 2 to cycle through the options there. All right, we made it. I was only a little bit over, and I think we have time for questions.
All right, well done, Michael. Thank you so much. That was a ton of information. I'm putting our little reminder links into the chat. So you covered a lot of resources today. Just amazing as always. Leslie is the resource queen. You might be the resource king here. So
Oh.
we've got some resources royalty in our Tech in 20 sessions. For anybody watching on YouTube, remember that you do need to head to the description box to register for our sessions in order to get access to the training schedule that has all the links for all the resources for today's session. Michael's resources document that he shared is also linked in our document. So that's it for Tech in 20, where we meow at your tech needs. Be sure to join us next week, where Leslie is actually going to go through tips and tricks for troubleshooting math when your teacher is not there. So today was really troubleshooting from the teacher perspective. Next week is really helping our students to troubleshoot for themselves, which is just as important. So thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time. And as of now, I will turn the recording off for some unrecorded Q&A and discussion.
The contents of this video were developed through a partnership with the American Printing House of the Blind, APH. CATT Northwest is based at the Washington State School for the Blind, WSSB. Logos, WSSB and APH. The contents of this video were developed under a contract authorized by the Department of Education. However, these contents do not necessarily represent the policy of the Department of Education, and you should not assume endorsement by the federal government.